Oh, look at that. Let's get some delicious buttermilk icing on these warm apple fritters. I mean, come on. That, my friends, is what back to school, apples, Rosh Hashanah, and the first couple days of September mean to me. Welcome to AZ Cooks, the Instagram Live edition. Thank you to our sponsors, the good folks at Florida Cagna Rum, and of course at Shun Cutlery, without whom we could not do this. Thank you for being so patient last week while I was off making television. More episodes of Family Dinner coming your way soon. A couple new projects happening. We'll fill you in on those as they happen. What can I say? I left Minnesota like 10 days ago, and it was 94 degrees, and we had these horrific thunderstorms ripping through Minneapolis. It was hot, almost too hot during the day to do some things, but you know, it was summer. And I came home 10 days later, and it's like a high of 65. It's overcast. People are in light sweaters. And I'm thinking apples and Rosh Hashanah and back to school. So I don't know what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. So let's talk about that for a second. First of all, Rosh Hashanah, for those who celebrate, that's Jewish New Year. You always celebrate with sweet foods. I always put out apples, dip them in honey. When my son was a little kid, the couple of days that we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, he would, it was always apples and honey. It was like a nonstop thing, which is all intended to toast the sweetest of New Year's to everyone. So I wish everyone who celebrates a sweet New Year. You can put honey in this recipe. Honey tends to scorch a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that while you are making these apple fritters, slice apples, whether they're, you're going with early ones now, later ones if you make this in different parts of the country when the weather gets a little cooler. The recipe is for large apples, 2 large apples or 3 smaller ones. But this is a super easy, quick one that uses baking powder instead of a yeasted dough. And the reason that I like that is that it's very, very immediate. Immediate satisfaction. You make these, you let the batter sit for a couple minutes, you fry, you're good to go. So for moms and dads looking to do fun baking stuff with the kids, what's better than this? Plus, if you're camping, you can whip this up in the morning and fry it. If you are want to do something like this for breakfast. I'm not a big sugar for breakfast person, but let's say it's Sunday morning and you want to do something special for somebody. It's their birthday or some other holiday coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is ideal, absolutely ideal. So let's get right to it. I have flour, sugar, baking powder. I'm mixing all my dry ingredients. Ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon. Recipe on andrewzimmern.com. Let's grab another whisk. Why am I whisking this? Because I want to make sure that all of those spices and the baking powder is evenly distributed. Why am I using baking powder and not baking soda? Baking soda is bicarbonate of soda, and it requires liquid and an acid to create a leavening effect. Baking powder already has the acid in there, so it will activate with liquid. And that liquid, well, I'm going to put the brown sugar in here. Normally, and most bakers do this, they will mix their liquids and their solids. I always break up my brown sugar in here for this recipe. Take a bowl, pour in your buttermilk. I love buttermilk in this recipe. Break your eggs. There's 1. There's 2. And add your applesauce. Why do I like applesauce in this? Applesauce breaks up really nicely in there. It is a second apple flavor, right? Because we're going to put grated apples in there. And I love applesauce, and people tend to have applesauce around. I'm just going to lower this so I don't burn my oil. And then I want to grate apples. Let's grate some apples. In the recipe on the website, I tell you to dice the apples. And you can do that. You can cut these very small. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Take those end pieces of peel off. Use the front of your knife. Cut some thin slices. Cut them into matchsticks. Again, with the front of your knife, you can use your opposing forefinger to hold them down.
What kind of apple what variety?
You just don't want one that's going to turn to water. So the sweeter varietals, so I have this sort of like micro dice of apples. Sweeter varietals like Honeycrisp will work if you make small fritters. But usually I want to use one that's a good baking apple, right? So, Haralsons and Cortlands and all that other kind of stuff. So you can do this, which for some people is easy, and fast, right? Other people I know struggle with knife skills. I encourage everybody, practice your knife skills. Cut a carrot and an onion every single day, bag them up, make soup, make stew once you have a big stuffed bag of it. But if you cut carrots and onions every day, you'll be in really great chopping shape, right?
What's your favorite variety of apple to just snack on?
Oh my God, all the different Honeycrisp varietals. We invented them. Well, we didn't invent them. They were built here in Minnesota. They were grafted. And we have tons of varietals. When you go to University of Minnesota Arboretum, you can taste during apple season in the apple room all these different apples that are just a number. I had a chance to taste the Zestar and what's the other one? The Sweet Tango before they were ever. Oh, these are Sweet Tangos? Good call. Oh, good call. Yeah, they are. These are fantastic early apples. So we're really lucky here in Minnesota that our university has done so much with apples. So we're really, really, really lucky. All right. And yes, Minnesota Honeycrisps are better than any other Honeycrisps, full stop. So there you go. We've got one or you can grate it. Flip it around 180 degrees. Then do the sides. You have less of a chance of hurting yourself. And then the other side. Don't grate the cores. Pull that out. Got all that wonderful flaky apple. So whether you dice it or whether you grate it, there you go. And then simply push your wet ingredients into the dry. And let's see, rubber spatula is really the best tool for this. You want to fold this together. Fold it together. You don't want to beat it. You don't want to whisk it. It'll get stuck in there. Fold it together. And go slowly. Be patient. You're hydrating the flour. The flour will absorb it. Look at this fantastic, fantastic appley, cinnamony batter. You want to put raisins in there, go right ahead. You want to do pears instead of apples, go right ahead. You want to make this with cherries, beginning of the summer, did it for weeks. It's super yummy. This is a great quick fritter recipe. Now, letting that baking powder get active It's not instantaneous. I mean, I know everybody says scientifically it's instantaneous. I have found letting it sit for a couple of minutes is always, always better than not letting it sit. A couple of things that I wanted to clue you in on with this. Number one, this is buttermilk, powdered sugar, and a little bit of vanilla. Exactly as it is in the recipe on andrewzimmern.com. It makes a fantastic glaze for donuts, for fritters, for all kinds of icing on certain types of cookies, all kinds of things. Second thing, you know, I knew about this for decades. Wasn't the first time I'd seen it, but my friend Zoe Francois, who's got a new show, Zoe Bakes, on Discovery Plus, our production company, Intuitive Content, makes the show, has always taken booze, vodka, rum. Don't do it with gin, right? Because gin has a lot of botanical flavors in it that you don't want in certain things. But as much of a neutral or baking spirit as you can find, and put all of your split vanilla beans in there and let it sit for 30 days, then just keep topping it off with a little more booze. Then when you have vanilla beans and you're done using the seeds inside, when you split them, just put the husks in there and you'll just keep adding more vanilla flavor. This thing smells like a vanilla bomb when you open that lid, and it's what we used in here. Second thing, you can sweeten with a little bit of honey. In here, if you're really persnickety about these things and you want to make sure you have honey in every dish that you can for the holidays, put a little drizzle in there, and that way you can say there's honey in it. It's not going to hurt it, but it certainly is sweet enough with the powdered sugar. I'm going to let this rest for a couple more minutes before we fry. Questions, comments, criticisms, support, deny, refute? What do you got?
This is kind of a controversial question. What are your thoughts on the movie
My waist size?
Oh. No. What are your thoughts on the movie Ratatouille?
Why is that controversial?
You know, rats and culinary world.
I thought it was an absolute brilliant movie. Beyond brilliant. I love it. Ratatouille is a fantastic film, and more so than most food movies, perfectly captures in many ways the essence of what it means to be cooking and eating and the nature of dining criticism in 21st century America. More so than a lot of those other movies that have been made. It's easier in an animated film to train a drawn character to cook properly than, I mean, at least, because for me, to watch someone cooking on screen, you have to watch someone who's actually cooked, right? I mean, that's why Eat, Drink, Man, Woman is such a brilliant movie, because they had one of the greatest chefs in China stand in for the hands for the chef. It's why Tampopo is such a brilliant movie, because all of those incredible ramen dishes were made by a real master. Anyway, I digress. That's how I feel about that.
What are you most excited for about fall?
What am I most excited about fall? I love the shoulder seasons. I love it to be a little cool. I love walking my dog with a sweater on at night. Love the leaves turning. I love putting a lot of logs in the fireplace on a Sunday and watching football all day. I'm not going to lie. What else? Oh, and the food. I mean, we're at a time right now where, yeah, it's cooled, but peppers and tomatoes are still coming off the vines in everyone's garden. Corn is still coming in from the fields. Local apples are showing up. Local squash is showing up. I mean, so you sort of have the best of both worlds throughout the month of September. I adore September.
Are you a big pumpkin spice latte person?
I'm so against it, but I love pumpkin pie, and more than that, I love cooking pumpkins as a vegetable. It's so underutilized. Everyone raves about Hubbard squash and turban squash and this squash and that squash. I'm like, get a sugar bear pumpkin. Those are those small ones that are meant for eating. Split it. You can deal with the seeds later, wash them, dry them, fry them, and toss them with salt, whatever you want to do. But bake the pumpkin and then scoop it and season that with a little bit of cream, a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of butter. Heaven. Pumpkin is so delicious. Love pumpkin.
What oil are we using to fry this?
This right here is canola. All right, so this is sat for a couple minutes. I sort of take the shape that I want this to be. It's going to rise, and I slide it so it sort of has a flat side. Look at these. Oh my gosh. So delicious. So incredibly, insanely good. Slide it off, because that way you have, and I'm just going to push these around. You see these sort of flat shaped fritters? And you can wash them with oil. That's where you just sort of baste it, or flip them pretty fast. I like to flip. I'm exactly at 375 degrees. I do this a couple times. This is a very small one for someone who says they're on a diet. This is for the person who's always saying, I just want a small sliver of cake. We all have people like that in our lives. Here's the reason why I slide them in flat. Because if you get too much of a ball, the outside will overcook and the inside will be undercooked. So the flatter that you can sort of make them, the better off you are. By the way, you can also, there is nothing wrong if you have a big family than just doing little, let's just call them fritter bites. I mean, just little itty bitty ones, right?
Should I be nervous to deep fry at home?
You absolutely should not be nervous to deep fry at home for the same reason that you shouldn't be nervous about a lot of things in the household. Done correctly and safely, and great question, and thank you for asking that. If you notice, I have 3 inches of oil in a pot that's 6 inches high. You always want a lot of room. You don't want oil to be boiling over. That's the turkey fryer problem, right? You also don't want to be frying with stuff where a lot of water goes in. That creates all of that agitation, right? That's why turkey fryers boil over. There's nothing else in the turkey. It's just all that. Usually it's added water, where they add 3 or 4% of water as a preservative. Don't get me started on the fake turkey business. But yeah, that's a really, really, really great question. And I can't stress enough that frying the right way at the right temperature does not result in a greasy mess. As a matter of fact, when you make these, if you fry at 375, and we have a candy thermometer here so that we know exactly what temperature is, I like to monitor it myself so that I can play around with the temperature if I need to. You will come out with beautiful, beautiful fritters that don't taste greasy at all.
Could you bake these if you really wanted to?
No.
Cool. Yankees or Mets?
Yankees or Mets? I've never told you my Nolan Ryan story? No. Nolan Ryan was my favorite player. I had Nolan Ryan sheets. I had a Nolan Ryan glove. I pretended to be Nolan Ryan. Then the Mets traded Nolan Ryan, and I never forgave them, and I became a Yankees fan for life. True story.
Who do you root for in the NFL?
I bleed giant blue, but I do root for the Minnesota Vikings because I have a lot of friends on the team. I've lived here for 30 years. My kid was born here. I mean, it's like Vikings, right? And I love going to the games. I like supporting all my hometown teams. I support every single team that there is here, and I root for them incessantly.
That's rough.
Why is that? What is wrong with you? That's so cruel. Why would you do that to me? I have real feelings about sports, Abby. You've touched a nerve.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor to eat when you're upset about sports?
Or what Abby says?
Or when Abby bullies you.
Do you want to know something? I'm obsessed with all types of coffee flavored ice cream. There is a new Jenny's flavor called Golden Nectar that is, I don't even want to get into it, how delicious it is. I also like their Pluto Bleu. I like their milkiest chocolate is the flavor name. What else? Salt and Straw has an incredible cherry ice cream with, whiskey and tobacco or something just to me. I'm a big Salt and Straw guy too.
How long do you let these cook for?
Well, these look just about perfect. We're going to let them come out. Look at how those babies have. I always put the pebbliest side up. There's always a smooth side and a pebbly side. Why? Because when you drop them in, what happens? The apples fall through the warm batter to the bottom. And then these are those little baby bites, which, by the way, are probably a better idea for anyone with a family. Number one, yes, you have more to go around. But more importantly than that, people can have one or two, and it's probably better for their diet. Now, if you glaze these right away, you'll lose more glaze. So you should glaze a little heavier. Why will you lose more? Because it runs off of those, right? I usually wait 3-4 minutes to glaze. Just let them cool a little bit. But if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of letting that cascade and fall over there, and you will see that you get that much lighter apple fritter looking glaze. These I let cool a little bit. This one I let cool for 10 minutes. These I let cool for 5. And you can actually see the one I cooled for 10 minutes held more icing on it. These will just look shiny and glazy, but still have delicious icing flavor. So my point to you is, if you're a real icing geek, or if you're icing cookies and you want more of this look, wait till they cool. Does that make sense? So we're learning about more than just icing fritters. We're learning about icing anything that comes out of the oven that you would play around with. I sort of want these hot. Don't you? Mm. Oh, come on. That is the most delicious start to a school year, start to fall, Rosh Hashanah celebration. This is what you should be eating right now. Come on. That's ridiculous. Crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside, warm, very aptly. I've never made this with half grated, half diced. I'm going to do that from now on. What else you got?
What's a destination that you've been to that you want to get back to?
I haven't been anywhere in 2 fucking years. Who was traveling? And who were all my friends that planned 8 months ago to go to Croatia and Italy for the summer? Where was I? I'm very resentful. Let me just tell you, I've been to 177 countries. There are a few countries that I keep going back to over and over because they're so spectacular. And how do I say this and not sound really, really awful? I have the choice in my life to be able to travel anywhere I want. So when I say I've gone to Costa Rica almost every year since traveling there for the first time, it's for a reason. Pre-COVID, I was going to Mexico 2 or 3 times a year. Mexico is right on our border. The most amazing people, the most incredible food, the most diverse topography, landscape, geography. You want mountains, they have mountains. You want a horseback ride, you got that. You want to go to the Pacific Ocean, there's that. Whole different culture on the Atlantic side, the Caribbean basin. Look at how much different Chiapas is from Oaxaca. I can't say enough things about Mexico. And when it comes to Europe, I love England and Paris and Italy and all the rest of that, but you have to fight the crowds. And I have learned over the course of my life that there are certain countries that mimic those other countries in certain ways, but they're a lot cheaper and fewer people. So if you love Italy, try Croatia. And then I guess my last suggestion is, how about Africa? We need to spend more time in Africa. Look at how much South Africa, the country, so much different than Morocco all the way. It's like the difference between Guatemala and Canada, okay? Maybe even more so. There are so many different cultures there, more so quadruple, quintuple, more than that, the number of countries there are, because within each country, there are so many different cultures. So the world is a big, beautiful place. Oh, God.
What are some of your hobbies that people might not know about?
Hobbies?
Yeah.
I'm a philatelist. Don't laugh, Abby. That means I collect stamps. Mm-hmm. No, I don't collect stamps. What are my hobbies? Disc golf, tennis. I like to read a lot. I collect 19th century prints. I collect 1960s and 70s fine art photography. I like to cook a lot. That's a swell hobby.
Really? That's a really cool hobby.
Thank you. I like musical theater. I like long walks in the rain. My turnoffs are fake people. I'm a Cancer. Abby, don't be exasperated with me. Abby and I are spending the day tomorrow together, creating some content, just she and I. That's our first day alone together working, isn't it?
She's coming.
Oh, because you needed backup.
I need moral support.
You need moral support. I knew it! All right, well, the three of us are going to have a really good time. So here's the deal. Huge thanks to the folks at Shun. Huge thanks to the folks at Florida Kanya. Thank you both so much. You're the best sponsors in the whole world. Go to andrewzimmern.com, download this recipe, cook it, make it, subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you to all who do subscribe. Last week we went over 100,000 subscribers. Let's go for 1 million next week, shall we? Let's see, what else did I want to tell you about? If you're in Colorado, I will see you in Boulder. I'm cooking a charity dinner at Frasca with Melissa King, an incredible chef from California, Top Chef winner. Incredible talent, even better human being. And then Aspen Food and Wine, if you're going to be out there, I will see you there doing a lot of demos and hosting a lot of things. And I'm doing a big dinner takeover at Casa Tua next Thursday night, a week from tonight. What else do I have going on? I think that sort of gets us up to date, right? We love you very much. Thank you for being with us. Make these fritters. Your whole family will thank you for them. I promise you this will be a regular dish on your table. Be kind to each other. We need more of it. See you next week.